And beginning tomorrow, in fact, Friday night and Saturday is a concert that the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra is putting on. It's music of Schumann and Beethoven. And the guest conductor for the concert this weekend with the WSO is Jose Luis Gomez. And Jose Luis Gomez, a Venezuelan-born Spanish conductor, maybe he's a composer, I don't know, became internationally known when he won the first prize International Sir Georg Scholti Conductors Competition in Frankfurt. He is now with the Tucson Symphony Orchestra as well, and he lives most of his time in Europe, but here he is in Winnipeg. Welcome back to the studios.
Hello.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
You've
Happy
been here,
to be back.
Yeah, you've been here a couple times before.
Yes.
Or once in the studio here,
yes,
but a few times in Winnipeg.
The first time I came.
Yes. Were you in the winter too?
Yes, it was in January. It was really, really cold.
It's probably not much warmer today. So
no, but it's good to see the sunlight. So that helps, to cope with it.
Helps to cope with it. I know how. Yes, I know. I mean, usually when the sun is shining, it makes it colder, but at least the sun is there. So anyway, welcome back to Winnipeg. Nice to have you here again. So you're doing a concert of Schumann and Beethoven. Before we talk about the concert, tell us a little bit about your upbringing in Venezuela, how you started on the violin, if you came from a musical family, how it all came up.
Well, it's all true. Everything you said is true. I came from a musical family. My father is a flutist. He was the solo flute or the first flute of the Maracaibo Symphony Orchestra. And he was also one of the first teachers, all over Venezuela, who also joined Mr. Abreu, José Antonio Abreu, the founder of El Sistema, to start, teaching El Sistema. And I mentioned Sistema because as many of all my generation colleagues, we all started playing, our instruments in the youth orchestras of El Sistema. So I started studying in the conservatory, and immediately after, at a very early age, I played also in the youth orchestra of my region, in the youth orchestra of the Zulia state. And I got to be the concertmaster when I was 11 and got most of my orchestra experience for a very early age. But of course, seeing my father playing every week and listening to music, live music, and also all his records that he has, that was, for me and my brother, it was clear that we had only one option in life, which was only
one option in
classical music. But we like all sorts of music. I mean, I love heavy metal. We're fans of Iron Maiden. I have played jazz. I listen to all kinds of music. So but he's being always in the music business somehow.
And your brother, he's still in the music business too?
He's a violinist. He plays in the Tenerife Symphony Orchestra in Spain. And his wife is a violinist too. And his two kids, they don't want to know anything about music.
So they have a choice. They have an option.
We didn't.
You didn't. So when did you switch from violin to conducting? Why did you decide to get into conducting?
Well, I had this thing that when I was 11, one conductor of a youth orchestra, he told me that if I would like to play some kind of a solo piece with the orchestra, and I was excited because that was for me. Yes, let's do it. I already played, double concerto with my brother a year ago, so I was like, yes, let's do it. And he said, well, you'll do it, but then you have to conduct something. You have to conduct the orchestra too. And I hated it. I thought that it was something that it was. So I did. My brother, my father put me to move my hands and said, well, do this and that. It was an easy piece. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't long. But I didn't like it. I was like, I thought that, for all of us, the fun part was making the sound, playing the music, being there. So the conductor was just a figure that you look at it time to time. But later on in life, I developed my career as an orchestral violinist, and I got the chance to also play with fantastic conductors, while I was a member of a youth orchestra, the Gustav Mahler Youth Orchestra in Europe. I played with Abado, with Franz Wessel-Möst, with Maris Jansson, Ivan Fischer. And you get to, experience great conductors also at that level. And let's say that my curiosity about music extended apart from just being a violinist. So I had always scores. I kind of kept a little bit of curiosity about it. And a friend of mine just told me, I think you have done that, or are you interested? Because I can see that. And I said, well, yes. And he said, what do you want to do it? And I just found myself asking myself, well, I want to do it. I'll give it a try. Let's see, what is the next big competition happening? So I took some lessons with the music director at the time that I had in the orchestra that I was playing. And he gave me some instructions. He saw me and said, "Well, I think you could do it." And he gave me some, intensive lessons. And I conducted, some ensembles before that. And in 6 months, I just found myself winning that competition. All of a sudden, I had a career in front of me. And of course, I was very fortunate for this huge chance. But also, after that, I became very close to the music director of the orchestra that I was assistant, which was one of the orchestras who played in that competition in Frankfurt, which is the Frankfurt Radio Symphony. And they offered me a position as an assistant, and its music director, Pavel Jarvi, let's say, took me under his wing as not only as his assistant, but also he became, my friend, my mentor. So I really developed myself after winning the competition. So it was two things in the same package.
Somehow. So when you were earlier on, who were some of the influences in conducting for you?
Well, I think all of us admired, the conductors of the past, starting from, I remember seeing these old videos of Toscanini and switching to Bernstein and Karajan, of course. But I remember clearly my first, versions of Mahler, listening to Bruno Walter Mahlers, the old recordings and stuff like that. And I felt that conductors were able to shape, the music differently than just being very efficient technicians. So Bruno Walter, or there was this conductor that I had this old record from my father, Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 5 with the Vienna Philharmonic, Joseph Kripps, who I listened, even at my early age, I could, had in my mind that I played that symphony a couple of times, and maybe 3 or 4 times. And then when I listened to it, the way he shaped it, the way he made it sound more mellow than just being very testosterone kind of a feeling, especially in the last movement, I felt, wow, this is great that a conductor is able to do this, to change and shape music in very different ways.
So what do you bring to it? What's your personality on the stage? What?
Oh, well, that's a difficult question to answer because I'm still not done yet.
You're still not done. Still developing your.
Yes, I think one of the things about this profession is like you're learning every time. And even though I have, in the case of the Rhenish Symphony, Schumann No. 3, I conducted it already quite a few times. But every time you get into that work, you know that all those things that you wanted to square are useless, because especially with Schumann, that's a composer that needs to have that freedom of expression. You can't just calculate everything. So that's how I try to also to focus in different kinds of music. It depends on what period, but particularly with German, romantic repertoire, you have to have that's when, also coming from Pavel, that's when he always said, that's when the technique comes. That's when you are able to shape the orchestra also with a very clear rubato without, making things fall apart.
I'm in the studio. We're talking about the concert this weekend with Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. It's conductor Jose Luis Gomez who is in town to conduct the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. They're doing music of Beethoven and Schumann. Speaking of Schumann, both of these works, the Manfred Overture and the Symphony No. 3 in E-flat major, come around from the same period of Schumann. And it's a time where, as you say, where you talk about emotion, he was going through some really rough times. He was quite depressive. And so the music in that, how do you sort of access those? Yeah, there is that element of
neuroticism, or there's a very big neurotic element in Schumann's music. So, but I see it as something that he's trying also to share with us. Some composers, maybe they can detract their own personalities and try to write a very good piece of work. Schumann was, the expression of romanticism to its best. So his music, it's a mirror of all the things that were happening inside in his life, in his person, and in his more intimate life. So all those speculations about these 3 figures that he had, Florestan, Eusebius, and Raro, which are the definitions of his personalities, having one more extrovert, one more intimate, and one more, kind of a more thinking. It's all shown in these 2 pieces because, he can go from a very extrovert and heroic beginning with the symphony, in E-flat major, the Rhenish Symphony, like you're saying, oh, everything is going to be fantastic. But then, you could tell that at some moments, there is anguish and there is this kind of a fight, the internal fight. And Manfred is just that from the very beginning. I think, the take that he does to the Lord Byron's play, it's it's as Lord Byron's also did itself with Manfred. He talks about himself, even though he's not saying it, but it's just his own struggle. So I think Schumann found the same mirror there, and without any fear of being overdoing it. He's just being himself, and that's really wonderful. That's also the difficult part of it.
Mm-hmm. And what about the Beethoven?
Well, Beethoven. I think Beethoven is not that far from that.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that concerto, it's that concerto that stands from the other two, right? From the one and first and second. It's when piano music or piano playing becomes only a word, because it's a world. It's not the piano that is playing. It's a huge element of life that is becoming there for you, and you're listening to it. He changed the way that music can be expressed with an instrument, I think. And that concerto, particularly the second movement, which is gorgeous and so lyric and so full of beautiful improvisations, makes that work so important in musical history, because Mozart did that already. I think we tend to separate the two big monsters of classical music, Mozart and Beethoven. Mm-hmm. But I think Beethoven gave that extrovert meaning to the piano in terms of communicating in music. And I don't think he was an extrovert. I think maybe he just did it because he was playing it. Mm-hmm. Most of the things that we have on paper are maybe half of whatever was the real thing that he said.
Yeah.
Or what he did when he played. I'll be curious to go back and listen to him playing.
Mm-hmm. What about you? Are you still pick up the violin every once in a while, or do you have time even to do that? Yeah,
I do, but I don't have time. But I think I did it this last December, that I have some free time, and at the beginning you feel depressed because any instrument, like in conducting, when you conduct an orchestra continuously, that's when your body it's used to this communication, but maybe it's worse with the instrument, but it's a little bit the same. If you don't play it every time, when you go back to it, you feel like your body is not yet there. But then little by little it comes back, the muscles to start to go back.
Do you still travel with it? Do you travel with the violin?
I can't.
No, you can't.
I just do it when I go back in my home that I have in Spain. Mm-hmm. So that's, but yeah. It's depressing at the beginning, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm sure I'd rather hear you play than me play. That's for sure. It would be depressing to hear me play. I'm talking to the conductor, Jose Luis Gomez, who is conducting the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra this weekend. They're doing Schumann's Manfred Overture and a Symphony No. 3 in E-flat major, and the Beethoven Piano Concerto 3 in C minor. So what's on your schedule these days?
Listen, it's been very exciting because, we started the month with two big concerts in Tucson. We did a concert with Gil Shaham, which was very exciting. But then I conducted my first non-classic, thing.
Pops.
Yeah. Because it was I would love that it was only pops, but it was more of a jazz thing. Oh. So it was with Arturo Sandoval, but it was a lot of fun. He's great. And then we started a festival together with a Tucson Desert Song Festival that is called, and the orchestra. We had a festival of Bernstein, so a celebration of the centennial of Bernstein, Leonard Bernstein. So we did Kaddish Symphony, which is Symphony No. 3, mm-hmm. and Jamie Bernstein came to do the narration, so that was very exciting. And I found myself also that the week after I went to conduct the Edmonton Symphony with a different program with here in Canada with a Russian program, and then I came back to Tucson to finish this festival, and we just did last week Trouble in Tahiti, the opera by Leonard Bernstein and concert version, and so I had a lot of the Bernstein thing during this month, which is very exciting. It's great music, and it's great to be part of this huge international celebration that is happening. But I'm happy to be back to Winnipeg, and also happy to be back to the German romantics.
I was going to say, your mind is being pulled in all these different directions. How long does it take you to get back on track to pretty much right away?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, there is no time for that. Of course, I mean, music speaks by itself, and you have to immediately, deal with it. I think the challenges with music of, the music of Bernstein, for instance, or playing his Symphony No. 3, that is one of the ones that don't get played very often, is just to understand their world and try to be convinced about it. And because he was a genius by all means, it's good music. It's very good music, but you have to believe in it. And I think, you know, that's why it was a very successful concert. And that's also why Jamie was really impressed with the orchestra, and we were very honored to have her, because this kind of music, if you don't believe in it, it will be a mathematical, you know, kind of a structure, and it's not, because he composed the way he was, you know, full of passion and full of, you know, energy. So you just jump into the music, and I think jumping from Bernstein to Borodin the week after, and back to Bernstein, and now to Schumann, it is, that's the beauty of it, you know.
It's exercise. Yeah. Keeps you in shape.
Exactly.
Keeps your mind in shape, your body in shape.
That's true.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an amazing concert this weekend. Again, you can go to wso.ca for information, tickets, and just a few more details about it. Schumann's Manfred Overture and Symphony 3 in E-flat major, and then Beethoven Piano Concerto 3 in C minor. Pianist featured is Catherine Chi, and the conductor Jose Luis Gomez, who I've been in conversation with. He's in town for the weekend. And then he's all over the place, as you can hear. He's doing so many different things. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you back.
Thanks for having me here.
First time for me to have you on the show, so hopefully we'll do it again.
Yes.
Good luck in all your travels.
Thank you.
Have fun, and enjoy your weekend.
See you all at the concerts, yeah. I hope.
Absolutely. Enjoy your weekend in Winnipeg.